많이 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 모닝 LPI.
Two games completed here on this week's SSL Classic as we look to break the new record for fastest night ever.
We're speedrunning SSL tonight, Wolf.
Sure, it feels like it. Now we're going to a ZVZ. All of our ZVZs so far have been decided by one base play, so I imagine that this one may follow suit.
Yeah, I mean, last week I feel probably the best ZVZ that we've had.
Yeah.
Really, really exciting. So now we get a chance to watch Soulkey play, and he's going to be playing off against herO. Now, I mean, herO won his first game in record time in week number 1 against herO, a guy who was just like really hyped up coming into the tournament. He just got bopped. So I was like, okay, well, maybe herO's just super good. And then he's lost every game since then. So I really got to lean towards Soulkey.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel like Effort has been really greedy, but we'll see if, you know, obviously we'll see if Soulkey wants to be aggressive again because he was against Effort, because Effort has been showing these early hatcheries a lot in the matchup. So was that why herO was aggressive? Was that why we saw Soulkey also with the early attack there that he eventually countered? That's the big question. Which one of these two is going to put on the aggression? We'll be lucky enough to see two greedy hatch builds and move on with our lives, going to 2 bases. Maybe you and I get to cast a 10, 12-minute ZVZ. That's my hopes. I mean, you don't always get what you want, but
if you try sometime, you might get what you need,
exactly. Though. And what I need is to watch this ZVZ. So let's jump into it. As you can see, Soulkey took a loss against Effort with the in-base hatch. Was able to defend there and tech to Muta's better economy.
Yeah, really sick strategy there by Effort previously. We'll get a chance to watch him later on. But Soulkey has to play against herO. And herO is a very different style of player. Did much better, I feel, in ASL, but still, unfortunately, no longer in there. And it is a game specifically against Effort. He just had kind of a build order win and hasn't played against Zerg since then. So it's been a while since we've seen his play style. Maybe he's changed it up quite a bit. We'll get a chance to see how he fares against Soulkey.
This is a really one of our younger Broodor players that, you know, did win a lot of online competitions and is considered by many Korean analysts to be an up-and-coming Zerg. But you can imagine what would happen. You know, let's imagine the world where that all-in in his first DVZ didn't even work. He would find himself 0-4, fairly weak performance in the ASL this time. He just hasn't quite hit the stride that people have expected from him in this post-Kespa era that we're living in for Broodor. Well, let's go into game number 3. I'm hoping as we go into Medusa for the second time, we'll get a longer ZVZ. Let's find out.
Gets me every time. All right, our teal Zerg spawning in the upper left-hand corner. That is going to be Soulkey and his opponent in the brown. In the bottom left is going to be herO.
Is that brown or orange?
I mean, it looks orange on the minimap. It looks brown when you actually look at the hatchery. All right, we'll see what color it comes up on. Okay, that's definitely an orange color by herO's name. So I'm just gonna go with teal and orange. And for all of you colorists out there, what would you call them? Like color
purists?
Chlorophylls? Something like that.
Sure.
That's what I'm going with. Somebody out there knows the word. And if you do, you can tweet it at me or Wolf, and we will acknowledge that hopefully sometime in the future.
Look at this, man. Drones are coming out
of Larva.
A lot of
drones, man.
Yeah, drones are coming out of Larva. This is going to be... It's like already we're set up for the longest record SSL ZVZ. Okay, Hatch not going to be the first choice of structure. It's going to be pool first for herO at least. So it could still put on some aggression, but it's mostly going to be like a defensive pool to get him an expansion more likely.
So this is really interesting. A lot of times on 3-player maps, you don't see quite this much macro because it is easier to scout for your opponent's bases. So it looks like we're going to see overpools here for both players. Oh, wow. Okay, also, I actually thought just looking at the pixels on the mini-map, that we already had a pool for Soulkey. He actually doesn't have a pool just yet, so he's going to go for a 12 hatch into pool. And this is going to be against a very economic, solid build there. He's just smalling pool. I don't know, man.
Make it in a moment, but even though this is not a super early pool, he can go into speed afterwards. We'll see how many Zerglings he commits to. It's going to be 6 for the initial coming out here for herO.
Now, every Zerg player, even though they don't see where their opponent spawns, they know 100% most likely where their opponent's Overlord is going to be. That's why you can see already herO changing the path of his Overlord to try to run up and see if there's an Overlord there.
Because if Soulkey was spawned at the top right, he would have seen the Overlord already.
Exactly.
It's not really a thing to mind game your Overlord scouting pattern. So here come these first 6 lings.
Yep.
The big question is how many more does he commit to this? Will be, I believe, scouted by this Overlord.
Ooh,
he actually may just barely dodge this.
Okay, so I think the Overlord saw some Zerglings, but he did avoid quite a few of them from being
Starting the creep
seen.
colony,
Yeah,
so he definitely knows.
Definitely knows what's coming his way.
Cancels the hatch too.
Thankfully, he did cancel that hatchery. There's no possible way he would have been able to hold that. Unfortunately, that does put Soulkey at a little bit of a deficit.
Yeah, looks like there are more lings rallied across, by the way, just pure lings. It's 2 and 2, so 4 more, so 10 in total. He wants to look to surround this creep colony before it finishes.
Oh my god, perfect focus fire. Takes out at least 1 drone. Can he get more?
I don't think he can, not with this meager amount. He's going to need speed and the rest of his Zerglings to rejoin if he wants to actually do that. Lair is shown to him here immediately. And so he starts his own lair at home. He knows he can't end this, but this is still a decent position for Soulkey because he has the larger drone count right now, albeit just slightly. He got the majority of the money back from his morphing hatchery. Now he's just going to look to harass outside of the sunken range. I don't think it's really feasible, though, to commit in. He looks like he just wants to commit once he has all the lings to perhaps just busting down some drones or going for the sunken itself, which is so risky, though. If microed correctly, Soulkey should be able to defend almost no matter what.
Okay, so we do see layers completed, spires now on the way. Very similar timings for both players, if I can read my mini-map pixels correctly. Actually, no spire yet for Soulkey.
Yeah, faster tech coming out for herO because he mined his gas faster. Obviously, when he went to speed, he left most of his drones in the extractor, not all. So
wow. These Zerglings just fitting into tiny little nooks and crannies, getting a couple of them picked off
power
right there.
Speed. He's just going to come around here. He wants to win the trade so he can try to harass the Spire. He is going to win this with the speed.
God.
Now looks to just attack into this sunken. It looks like he was considering that, the drone UI or AI bugging him out a little bit there. But the Spire is still protected for now, but it's a much faster Spire for herO. And he got such a better trade. He has total control right now. And when his mutas come in, he's going to have the support of the Zerglings to try to potentially burst down that sunken colony.
I think we might need to see a Spore colony coming in here pretty soon. I mean, if you try to defend this with nothing but Zerglings and sunken colonies, gosh.
StarCraft 2 brain man.
Yeah, that's what happens when I cast SSL yesterday. It's like, okay, well, only StarCraft 2 units. We're going to have medevacs coming out here any second, Will. Yeah, so you're definitely going to need to come out with a Spore colony here, because it turns out Zerglings don't do very well at shooting up. And even Zerglings not doing very well against other Zerglings here. Soulkey just barely hanging on.
Evo Chamber is coming up. He realizes, okay, this is not going to work. I need to have some of these Spore colonies to defend. Already 3 mutas morphing, should be hatching very soon on the side of herO. Is going to feel comfortable now to expand. As you see, Soulkey did also commit the gas to getting Zergling speed, so he's like, all right, just physically you cannot have as many mutas as I have.
Right.
Mathematically, I have more. I am going to control this early part. He also sees the evolution chamber, which tells him further, you also are of that opinion. So, he's even going to win this trade. This means he gets his hatchery for free, and if he gets that second extractor up, I mean, I'm not trying to call this game over, but if he gets that extractor up and the second hatchery, he will have double the Mutalisk production, and that is everything in ZVZ. Lings and mutas, but mostly mutas, are the deciding factor in this matchup.
I mean, you're not going to get too many ZVZs. In fact, each Zerg player will get precisely 2. But if you can win every one of those, I mean, that's still going to put you in a good place. And for herO, he just seems to be on top of this matchup. Now, it's not over yet. It's certainly an advantage for herO, but also really cool to see how he just knows exactly where his opponent's overlords are, going out there hunting, and he'll know exactly where to head up towards that 12 o'clock position to take out another one.
Now, this Ling control, look at the map. Look at the mini-map. Look at how much he's got spread out vision, all these Lings. Mutalisk clearing up all the overlords. He has total vision on the map. He will see this hatchery, and then he can't harass it. Soulkey will really struggle to defend.
I don't even know how you can get that hatchery up. That's not a holdable hatchery by any means.
This is really risky to send these Mutas across. He's like, oh, okay, I see you set your Mutas to kill my Overlords, so maybe you don't have anything at home. The reality is he does, but he does micro well against the Scourge, so finds, I think, one drone.
These Mutas are going to get caught and killed. These Mutas are not making it out of here alive.
Yeah, Scourge here kited it and destroyed as well. And
I get one Muta with them, so, I mean, kind of worth. So the way that you make your way back into this is by playing a more economic game and trying to get Scourge hits on Mutas, because Scourge costs about 75% the gas that a Mutalisk does.
He's killing so many drones here, Reed, because he didn't actually get caught by the Mutas that are being chased by the Scourge, even with the split. So this killed so many of hero's drones, and now Soulkey has a massive lead.
There's no drone Soulkey, there's one drone mining in the main. What? Soulkey, or herO rather, really screwed up there. He was trying to split his Mutas and chase and catch Soulkey's. Soulkey just did the biggest like juke and jive back into the main, and that is actually a pretty insane advantage.
So that gives him this nice, a little bit of catch up. The problem is he's still down in Mutas, and had he actually gotten unlucky and the Mutas got caught, he loses the game immediately. But when you're behind like this, you have to try something like this. He knew that he was going to get away there because he saw the Mutas missed his, so he took this risk. Begs the question, should herO just make a safety spore colony in his main base? He isn't willing to commit the resources to that right now, especially with the drones he just lost, but if he had one earlier, it would have been a lot easier to defend. Both players on an insanely low drone count because that's how this matchup works, but every drone you get is so important, and denying this extractor is huge too.
Oh, perfect job kicking off the Mutalisk as it spawns. There's still a bunch of Scourge here. If those can hit and get good connections, then maybe this will turn the fight in Soulkey's favor.
It's not going to happen though, and now with good micro from herO, the Scourge clean, but he doesn't see these coming over.
Great connections there on the Scourge, and it looks like finally more Mutalisk for Soulkey. If he can turn this around, he'll be back in the game.
Looks like he just barely was one down here. Scourge coming over though. This is actually too much for him to deal with. It's going to be Scourge versus Scourge here for a moment. All right.
The lone little Scourge that could, the final survivor.
Okay, but look at this. The hatchery's been under attack during this entire time. He lost his drones there, so even though Soulkey won that mini battle, he's going to win potentially the war here with losing this hatchery, losing all that larva production. There's nothing, no way he can stop it.
If he can save this, that would be huge, but he does, and he loses the hatchery, and it doesn't matter how many Mutas either player has. You lose your hatchery, you're in a bad spot.
And Scourge can't kill that drone.
It's going to be Scourge.
Scourge! Oh! Wow!
Okay, so now Soulkey has to be really heartbroken. He won that narrow Muta battle. That's the closest Mutalisk battle I've ever seen. Like, if you just have one more Mutalisk than your opponent, you crush the battle. But now, oh no, not microing the Mutalisk!
He actually needs to get some more lings out here, to be honest.
Oh, he's going to catch this hatch immediately.
Okay, good pull here on the drones, but he needs Lings out, actually, to save them. Lings are just going to go in the main base. Either that or the Muta that pops out needs to get over here, but there's a Scourge to protect these Lings. So, this is the longer ZVZ we're looking for. And if you're watching this going, wow, this is totally crazy and scrappy.
Ah, you missed it. The Muta's hatched out of the other hatchery. But still, nice nice drone kills, getting those Zerglings in there and taking out a few.
But if you're watching this ZVZ and going, wow, ZVZ just, is it always this crazy? The answer is yes, actually. Usually it is.
Yeah, pretty much every time.
So, it's just kind of how this matchup works. But the better production right now goes to herO, who has double hatch and can make more drones. He staves this attack off. He now has the better Mutalisk count. His attack here is mostly just to confirm if there's a hatchery or not. But Soulkey's made a ton of Lings, so he has to back off.
Well, I think this might actually be one of the things that could turn things back in Soulkey's favor. It's weird to see how this game fluctuates back and forth. Mutas are more important. Now Scourge are more important. Now Lings are more important. And neither player really has any Mutalisks anymore. I think maybe there's one for herO, but it's going to be about Zerglings and with another hatchery with more larvae. I mean, minerals and gas are important, but the real resource is going to be larva, and that's in herO's favor.
Exactly, and herO, all he really needs to do is sit back and defend and just eventually drone up and have a better economy. And if he wants to make a Evo chamber and get spores to help protect that, that's one way he can just win the game. But he didn't know about the hatch being remade, or rather, if it was remade or not. He does come over here, check, sees it, forces it, cancel. But that was the one thing he was worried about. Now that he knows it's been canceled, he can't just take that defensive stance because he knows, okay, you're literally on one hatch. He has Lings all over the map. There's no hidden hatcheries. That's not even a thing in this matchup. But
so I didn't actually check that the upgrades, because I think there is something upgrading from that Evo chamber. gotta keep an eye on that, because there is maybe a timing where maybe you get like +1 on your Zerglings or your Mutas, and they just win forever and always, and they're just better. That's definitely a possibility, and there's only one drone, or now, yeah, 1 or 2 drones mining here at the natural. So that's not even that big of a deal. Wow, nice job saving that drone. But there's more Lings from Soulkey that's gotten into herO's main.
Now the Lings taking some of that bounce damage to the Muta. Scourge here is really annoying. Actually, will hit the Muta, but it doesn't kill it. Eats 2 for that, so that's actually a waste. That's pretty expensive. Soulkey just not controlling there. Yeah, I don't think he got any upgrades for his Lings, but we don't know for sure unless he clicks. Nice, gets that last drone.
It's either Lings or Mutas. There's something pumping on that Evo chamber, so I gotta keep an eye on everything. No upgrades just yet, but lots of damage being done there. A couple of drones do get picked off, but look back in Soulkey's main, he's pulling Mutalisk.
Yeah, he's switching back to Mutas. This is actually gonna really surprise and shock herO, and if he wins the Muta battle for even just 1 second, kills all the drones, and there's no way for herO to make Scourge to defend, yeah, that's how he wins the game. And so even though it looks like, oh, he's got 2 hatch, he should win no matter what, it's not necessarily the case if he gets actually mind gamed here. And so these Lings are going to miss the Ling counterattack.
So what's about to happen is Soulkey is going to try to hide his Mutalisks and either kill off Zerglings and then run in and kill herO, because this is basically his shot. This is his one shot, it's one opportunity. So better never let it go.
Well, let's see if he can micro against the Scourge. They're coming to chase this down. Only 2, though. He should be able to micro against this, no problem. Yeah, this was pretty wasteful from herO. Not entirely sure what he was hoping to accomplish with those.
Here comes herO's Lings, and this is going to be what could catch Soulkey out of position if he goes across the map with his Mutas. Instead, he has to back at home, and he will be able to take out herO's Lings.
And this just keeps herO's Lings keep Soulkey at home, which means that he can't attack, which buys him time with his better economy to get the Mutas up. The hatchery still hasn't been remade, and he's just mining from 2 extractors. That's the gas he needs to outproduce. And now Soulkey doesn't even realize how many Mutas are out here for herO. He's going to come in here. That's the 1 Scourge on the protection. If he crushes this, he knows Soulkey doesn't have anything left. That's why he just made Scourge and more Scourge. This is a micro battle for Soulkey. These are the last units he's going to have in this game, pretty much. If he loses them, that is game
Lings
over.
Going in for the counterattack back at home. herO is going to be able to run all the way in there. Double sunken colonies, though, great defensive investment. So Soulkey will keep his base alive for now. Scourge hits are good there, but it looks like herO might just have more Mutalisk. Who's got more, Wolf? I don't know.
It looks like it's more here for herO, but it's pretty close. Respawning Mutas coming out. Soulkey actually wins the fight.
Oh my god, Soulkey's won the game.
Yep, that is it.
Oh my god, Soulkey is just...
Scourge coming out, but, I mean, he's eventually just going to run out of money, can't make any more Scourge.
I don't know, larvas into Mutas is like turning the, I don't know, water into wine here. Somehow, off of a 1 less hatchery, Soulkey has a better Muta count. He's going to kill every single drone that herO has on the map, and I don't care how many Scourge you produce from now on out, those drones are DED dead.
Yep, that's right. Once he runs out of drones, he can't make Scourge anymore, and that is going to be the end of it. Cleans up that last Muta, the last Scourge, few Lings coming out, but this is the win for Soulkey for sure. All the drones completely cleaned up. He's going to go, I guess, check one more time. GG. He's like, did you really just beat me with 1 hatch? Yes, he did.
Literal god Soulkey, able to defend back at home from that Ling counterattack and come back from a very narrow, it was really touch and go there. Once Soulkey lost his hatchery, I'm like, oh my god, how do you win 1 versus 2? And the answer is apparently just make Mutas, pool them, extra sunken back at home for the defense, and really, really good Scourge hits.
There were a few weird decisions from herO. Theoretically, on paper, if he just defends, makes drones, and makes 1 spore at each base, he could just win the game. He had the better Ling count, so he wasn't even necessarily need to be afraid of that.
Right.
He also attacked with his Lings into the double sunken at the end, which didn't do any favors for him, and he tried to buy time with that attack, but just didn't work out for him in the end. Wanted to commit there, and Soulkey just played the better game. He was 1 step ahead in the mind game of the tech switches. His Scourge control and Mutalisk control were both better than herO's in the end too. herO had some careless mistakes in terms of Mutalisk control, and just had that 1 extra Muta that you were talking about basically there at the end. So
I didn't actually check, but what could have made that big difference, because it looked a little bit confusing for me, is the Evo chamber could have been upgrading a Mutalisk upgrade, most likely armor. And so if that armor had finished, then that really could have turned the tide. I didn't check there. there. So
as far as I could tell,
guys.
I was checking. As far as I could tell, I don't think either of them had upgrades.
Okay.
I think it was just the Mutalisk count was better for Soulkey, and he had the Scourge hit there.
Yeah.
That I think herO, one of his Scourges, was killed immediately in the fight, because I think herO was confident, like, I have the better Mutalisk count, which was not actually the case. And in that moment, it's so difficult to tell because the Mutas are stacked onto each other. Like, even the most advanced programmer can't always be 100% sure in that moment.
Another thing that could have definitely changed the tide is we were talking about how important Larva is as a resource. It looked like herO actually might have invested too heavily into Zerglings and might have spent too much of his Larva building Zerglings that then didn't do anything on the counterattack. Soulkey instead just spent his drones, put them into sunken colonies, had that defense back at home, and then put all of his Larva into Mutalisks. So herO's splitting his Larva into Zerglings and Mutas, whereas Soulkey just comes out with a higher Muta count and wins the game.
Yeah, I just feel like if he committed to static defense and defended and made sure he was always checking to see if there were a big link commitment, because that's the one way, if you do defend and you just play defense and make some static defense, you might still lose the game if Soulkey tricks you, kind of like what happened there when he pulled the Mutas. So you could die to just a big Ling attack if you're just like, oh, I made a spore at each base and I'm droning and I'm getting Mutas. It's like, oh, well, now you die to a bunch of Lings. So it's impossible to know, but if you're constantly scouting, threatening, and you play the more defensive game, I think you win it every time. But Soulkey was a better player in our longest CVZ of SSL, so we're going to go to a ZVP after a commercial break. We'll be right back, guys, for the last match of the evening, Rain versus Effort.